and part 2 of my tales of high adventure at Metrocon 2017. We already talked about what I got in the dealer room and all of my stuff interacting with celebrities across autographs, getting chances to hang out, and of course, the interviews of the year. So this time we're going to talk about the convention itself, the events, what I thought, as well as this little thing. My first ever time actually attending as a guest. Part of me still doesn't believe this. Part of me still thinks this was an elaborate prank or something, but who went through my videos to get that screen cap? Because like if you I submitted photos that if someone like really wanted them, you could have told me like you have me something else. I could have found something else. Like, oh god, that's like the Barizun sword review. That was such a random thing to see. I need proper photos next year. So, but no, like this has meant the world to me. I spent all weekend looking at this thing because it didn't feel real. Now, for starters, like my guest experience is not the same as all the others. I didn't have panels or autograph signings or anything like that, and I for the most part, kept to my normal schedule. I have appearances at opening and closing ceremonies to make, etc., etc. But for the most part, I'm being me. You know, I'm doing what I do at Metrocon, which was, which was funny. Like it became my favorite thing to do that year was to show what my schedule looks like. And I had the picture of it somewhere, and I don't have it now. But like my schedule is ridiculous. Like it goes from like 10 in the morning to like 11 at night. And it is just like blocked off hour by hour. This is what I'm doing. This is when I have to get my autographs. This is when I have to eat. I have to block out times where I get to eat during the day. And like, I showed this to Natalie, who's the head of the cosplaying, the contest department, who invited me in. And she's like, her eyes bugged. She's worried that I was overdoing it. And then I showed her the list, and it's like, it's funny to me because I'm so used to that. And Metrocon, like, I don't know what it is. I just have the energy to keep going through that kind of schedule there. You know, my final tally, the final total for footage in this year's Metrocon was 201 gigabytes of 1080p footage and like over 23 hours worth playtime. I have a lot of work to do. It's work I enjoy doing, though. I love working with my Metrocon footage. I love going to all the events and filming everything and making sure that everyone else gets a chance to see that this is an incredible place. So my experience with being a guest for the first time was incredibly cool. Natalie and her entire staff were all incredibly wonderful to work with. Everyone was very friendly, and everyone wanted to make sure, like, you haven't asked us for anything this year. Like, do you need anything? Like, you're not like going hungry, or like we get you water or something. No, this is what I do. Like, this is how I run things. Like, we had to ask for one thing. We had to ask for a wig cap because Danielle was doing her very first cosplay this year, and I'm so proud of her for doing that because she's kind of introverted. She doesn't like being out in a crowd. She doesn't like drawing attention to herself. So I'm really proud that she had the guts to actually cosplay for the first time, and she went as Dorothy as Big O, and she looked amazing. I've got photos on my camera that probably no one's going to see, just because she didn't like how they turned out, of her like at the piano they had at the convention center, because you know it's Dorothy and the piano. If you ever saw that episode of Big O, she was actually dressed as Dorothy when we went in to talk to Steve Bloom. Like, so that was like our little thing. Like, I have my own personal art Dorothy to talk to Roger Smith. So no, I was really proud of her. But like, that's literally all we asked for. Like, that's literally the only thing. So everyone's wondering, it's like, what I was doing all weekend. I showed them the list. But no, they were all really cool to talk to. I did talk to some of the cosplay guests too. One of them, Danielle, had a very, very good discussion, and I'll leave the details of that to them because it's going to very personal territory. But I'm really happy that I had the chance to do that. Really happy that if she ever sees it, Mew21, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it was interesting. What was fun about it, what was wonderful about it to me was how many of the staff told me they were happy for me to see that name on the guest list. You know, I often say of Metrocon, it's like, it's described as con family. And this is one of the things me and Scott got to talk about this year, because we went to Asylum, the convention nobody ever speaks of because nobody was there. But it was the really first time for both me and him, and that we both got to actually talk to the staff and actually get to know people. And like, I'm not just some guy running around with a camera mooching off the convention. I'm a human, and like, these people are not just staffers, and these are friends, and this is con family. And every year everyone's incredible. Everyone makes me feel like I'm part of the family, and like, they were describing it to me that way, and that still just gets me emotional. Like, I was telling one person, like, when I do these shirt designs every year, like, there's a reason the gear always goes here. Like, this was my shirt design. Like, it was funny because Alex came up with a new shirt for They came up with a new shirt for Metrocon this year, and it's all a bunch of interlocking gears. I'm like, hey, I came up with the same thought this year. So it's 4 orange gears for the first 4 years I attended, and then it's 5 years as press, and then the 10th year is my first year as a guest. And then there's an extra little gear for Asylum off to the side. Because I know no one was there, and I know it was not a good thing, but it always meant a lot to me. It was like, I don't think I would be as close-knit to Metrocon if I didn't go to Asylum. So it wasn't all bad, silver linings and all that. So working with everybody, now on a closer level, was great. It was absolutely wonderful. Everyone there was great. That goes for Natalie and her staff. Goes to all of the liaisons that I talked to. It goes to everyone in tech. Thank you again, Lex, for playing my theme song. That was cool. Yeah, it goes to everybody. Like, I could just start rattling off names, and I just have to thank them for what they do. Like, thank you, Nick and Alex, for letting me get away with this. Like, ultimately letting me have this thing, because this means the world to me. I can thank Morgan for putting up with me all weekend. Thanking liaisons like Emily for keeping me in touch like this. Where is Scott? Like, texting all weekend. Thank you very much to Mary, who was really the first person at Metrocon who had faith in what I could be. She was the one who got my foot in the door, and now it's gotten to that point where, like, I could just keep rattling off names, and like, I don't want to because I don't want to leave anybody out, because I don't want to feel like an ass, because they're all special to me. I love all the people there. And I was going to save all the sappy stuff to the end, but now we're getting into this because it was just the flow of where my mind went. So, first time experience. Okay, so all I really had to do was go up on stage at opening ceremonies, do a little spiel. Hey, this is what I am. Hi, Metrocon. I'll see you out there. And then go say goodbye at closing ceremonies. So, opening ceremonies, I had a bit that I had been practicing. I wrote it out like a month ago, and I've been practicing it since, and right now I could rattle it off, no problem. My name is TJ, otherwise known as Tyler James, a headstrong, heartfelt, foot-loose, eagle-eyed videographer encoding megabytes by the microsecond. And it was going to be this take on a George Carlin routine called Modern Man, where it's incredibly well-crafted wordplay, and it goes on for like 3.5 minutes. And it's like, the man was a master of the English word. I had like about a 40-second version planned, where it's going from wordplay to rhyme to wordplay to rhyme, and for the most part it worked. The crowd for whatever reason gets a little bit noisy when I'm on stage. So, like, I had people shouting at me, and that's cool. because it's easier to interact with you than it is to come up with my own stuff. But it threw me off. So there's a couple flubs in there. So I don't know if I'm actually going to post footage of the opening because it's kind of cringy to me. Like, oh, I wanted that to go so much better than it did. But a lot of people were really nice about it. A lot of people did like the parts that went well. I felt so much better at closing. At closing ceremonies, I was like, you know what? Let's just... I've had a few jokes come to my brain this weekend. Let's just go up there. I'll have a few jokes in mind. I'll get my little heartfelt stuff out of the way, and we'll just be more natural about it. And I feel like it came off much better. I felt way better at closing ceremonies and opening, probably because it was my second time on stage, so I wasn't quite as nervous, and I could channel it better. Max Middleman, I think at some point, I think it was him, at one of the panels said, when you get nervous like that, you turn that nervousness into excitement, and I was trying to remember that as I was going up there. But, yeah, I went up, and, I was kind of emotional. John said inspirational, don't push it. And I told a few jokes that got laughs, nothing bombed. I had a groaner joke in there. Got the appropriate reaction I wanted, so at least I have some comedy instinct to where what ended up being my very first attempt at stand-up comedy actually went off kind of well. I felt much better about that. So the people who heard it really, really liked it. So I think that's what it's going to be next year if I try something else. I was already told by Natalie, I loved what you did at opening. I love what you did at closing. You need to do it again next year. No pressure? Sure. Sure, why not? Let's try. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Now that I know what it's like, now that I've had that experience with me, ooh, now I can drive home. It didn't really change my con experience that much, It was probably because it was my logo in the image in your con guide. Instead, use my logo in the con guide instead of any of the photos, which I think was by design because my logo is easier to recognize from videos and such. But yeah, this isn't a rib. That's not a fake badge. There's the actual con guide they sent out. There's my name, TJOmega. Again, love this. So that was so cool. But no, it was a really cool time. It didn't really change my con going experience that much. I had fans come up and say hi. They wanted to shake hands and talk and get photos, and I love doing that. It's I'm bouncing all around, and I'm in a rush to get from one room to another all the time. But if you see me, stop me, say hi. I will try to make whatever seconds I can for anybody I see there. So that was really cool. Someone stopped me at breakfast and said, you're kind of an inspiration for what I do. And I told them, I'm so sorry for that. Very jokingly manner, but things like that mean the world to me. Because I still view myself as I'm just an idiot with a camcorder. It amazes me that people find actual value in what I do, and I want everyone to know, anytime I hear that, it's means the world to me. So thank you to everyone who came up. Thank you to everyone who kind of made me feel special that weekend. So let me again, I was going to keep all this happy stuff to the end, but let's go ahead and we'll talk some of the events. First off, I'm going to mention some of the ones I didn't get to attend for various reasons because my filming schedule is bonkers. There's a few things I generally don't cover that I didn't get to. Things like Anime Idol and the cosplay contest, and those I didn't get to do. The AMV Awards, I never really get to do anymore, just because it's right in the middle of Saturday when I'm usually stuck in a block of guest panels, and that's what happened this year. And apparently, I was supposed to. I was actually wanted for presenting Best in Show, which I would have loved to do, except I didn't know I was supposed to be there. It's the one snafu I had schedule-wise all weekend. So definitely need to see what we can do to make that happen next time. I would like to do that. So so those events I didn't get to do, and like the Masquerade I didn't get to do because I found out that I tried filming the Masquerade for a couple years now, and I found out footage is terrible there because what makes the Masquerade different from all the other performances is the fact that stuff goes on in the crowd. People are dancing, the performers get off the stage and they start interacting with people on the floor, and my camera does not do dark rooms very well, so the footage looked terrible. You know, the stuff on stage it just looked like the standard stuff of Metrocon without the fight scenes. So it, you know, for like the highlight videos I do, I don't really, I don't really have any place for that to go. So I felt it made me feel bad, especially because this year they were trying something different, where it wasn't just formal wear. They were asking people to actually have like cyberpunk style cosplay, and it was much more interactive. The performers were in character all the time. They interacted with people on the floor. They got out and danced themselves in between on-stage segments. So they were going for something very different this time. They're trying for an all-immersive experience, which ultimately is kind of cool. I feel like something would be a little bit more, like maybe to ease into it a little bit better rather than going like straight up, well, you know, we've had like formal wear and things like that every year. This year it's going to be all interactive and immersive, so everyone dresses cyberpunk. You know, because, you know, formal wear is kind of easy to keep around, you know, and then, but now it's got to be like an actual cosplay, which gets more expensive and you might not have around. Like, I don't have anything cyberpunk to actually attend that thing with. You know, and even though I'm press and I could just, or press a guest this year, even though I didn't have to conform to that rule, I still like playing along. Me and Danielle went in formal gear even though we didn't have to. We had masks. You know, it's actually over here. I actually keep it on the storage just in case I ever need it. My TJOmega half of my logo mask. You know, just in case I need it for anything. So unfortunately I thought it was a little bit like something like start the Masquerade off like with something that fit the formal play idea but was still interactive, like, you know, like a Sailor Moon like Crystal Tokyo, or like Moon Kingdom style event. Of course they just did Sailor Moon a few years ago, so I don't think that would have really worked to repeat themselves. But, you know, just something to ease the transition, I think, would have been a little bit better. But, of course, I wasn't there, so I don't know how well it went off. So I'm just talking out my butt right now. Speaking of, there was also the Dark Dream Dance, which was Sailor Moon themed, and it was really different. I heard it was cool, but I didn't get to go. So apologies to everyone who was putting on that event. I would have loved to have gotten it. Other things that I missed Lava, which was loud, annoying, and very annoying. It's Ray Chase, Robbie Damon, and Max Middleman's improv group. I really wanted to get that because it sounds like it's a really cool and different event for Metrocon to put on, and I felt like it was going to be really funny. Scheduling snafus on Saturday kind of prevented me from being able to go to that event, so unfortunately that didn't happen. And the same went for the Caleb Hylas and Jonathan Young concert. That one I kind of avoided mostly because I don't want a copyright strike from Disney because they do Disney covers, and I'm like, I really don't want to tempt that beast. So I heard it was really cool, but I had to skip that one out too. But I make sure to get all the major events. I make sure to get all the big special events of the weekend, and I try very hard to make sure I get to everything. So I'm actually going to scribble one in because I forgot. How did I forget that? I won't mention which one I forgot. I'll just keep going like I remembered all of them all the time. I'm going to start with the Star Party because the Star Party, I will admit, is generally one of my favorites every year. And it's not just because James is a friend of mine. He's the director. But it's what I missed from like the old school chess matches, which were a little bit more on the silly side. So this is nothing but silly. This year's theme was the Haunted Mansion, or actually Luigi's Mansion, which Daisy had actually turned into a bed and breakfast. which, strangely enough, that to that point, that's the actual plot to the DVD that Scott McNeil signed for me this year. I'm not kidding. It's not the whole plot, but it's like the framing piece of the plot. So I thought it was funny. It's like, oh, his girlfriend took over the Luigi Mansion, and it's haunted. So it was a union of the original Pokemon cast, where Brock was weird, Brock was being Brock, Ash was being a moron, and Misty was basically being Misty. About the only one that was actually like had a brain between her ears. So the Pokemon group, and joined in by 2 from Persona and 2 from Fire Emblem. I'm not too familiar with either franchise, so I apologize. I can't remember the characters, but the skit itself, the plot, the skit itself was really funny. Like it was funny because it was Ash, Misty, and Brock, but there was no Pikachu. They had Meowth, and Meowth was being really friendly, and everyone was calling Meowth their best buddy, and I was like, this is strange. Why this? And the writer in my bread. The writer in my bread. The writer in my the writer in my bread. The writer in my head realized why, because Pikachu doesn't talk and Meowth does, and it's hard to have a character on stage trying to interact to be funny with everybody who isn't talking. So they wrote in Meowth. And my favorite part of the entire thing is when they acknowledge that. When they finally acknowledge why Meowth is there, because it is hysterically funny. The whole bit is funny. They were, the place is haunted, so of course they're looking for ghosts, right? So after a while you realize, especially after they start dropping references, you're watching an episode of Scooby-Doo. And then as it goes on, you change your mind. You're like, no, wait, I'm not watching an episode of Scooby-Doo. I'm watching an episode of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, the much sillier, campier, and more in-jokey one that they did for kids in the 90s. So that was bizarre, but it worked. It was funny, and there's one joke that just drove home as hard as they could. I'm looking forward to showing you the highlights of that one. That was funny. I might just post the entire thing. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. But no, again, like, you guys do incredible work. I love the Star Party. I used to skip the Star Party every year, and I feel so awful about that. But I made sure to catch it in the more recent years. Whatever I have to skip to get there, I don't care. I want to see the Star Party. The Fire Show this year was themed on Kingdom Hearts, and the story of it goes across the memory of Sora, Riku, and the Kingdom Hearts fans are not happy with me right now. Kairi. I haven't played those games in a long time, I'm sorry. So you see the younger versions of them from the original games, you see them in like the different costumes as they grow up, and then you see them as like their current incarnations. It's a really cool thing as they kind of go through memory, because memory is such a huge thing in those games. A bunch of cameos from the other characters, Organization 13 members, etc., etc. Brilliantly done. Really cool. I was really jazzed because I got a hint that something was going to happen during the first performance on Thursday that wasn't going to happen on the others, and it turned out one of the performers proposed to the lead, one of the lead Soras, which was really cool to get on film. I love getting moments like that on film. It was like once in a, because that's a once in a lifetime thing for those two. So I love getting the chance to film those kinds of things. It's not the first proposal I've gotten on tape at Metrocon either. What I did miss was, I believe on the final fire show, uh, two girls actually got married at the end of the fire show, and that I wish I got. I missed that one. I didn't know that was happening. And I think Saturday I was just dead exhausted, and I was trying to save myself up to go to another one of the events, which is on my list. I certainly didn't forget it before. So I'm kind of upset I missed that. But I got the proposal, and I got the fire show. The fire show was awesome this year. Like, of all the shows, like, those are the performers I probably have the most respect for, because that's so freaking dangerous, man. You guys are insane. But, like, it's also one of the shows where I know the most people. You know, like Matt and Angel are, like, all about the fire show. They rocked it this year. Like, great job, guys. Yeah, so that was really cool. I'm kind of like on a downer over Kingdom Hearts because like I'm so like they took too long for number 3. Like I don't care about the Kingdom Hearts anymore. And now I'm like I kind of want to go back and play number 2 again. Okay, after that, Rhythm City Chronicles, the dance show. This one under new direction. Nick, one of the co-owners, actually decided, yeah, this year he was going to direct it, and we got a different Rhythm City than we usually do. Last year I wasn't satisfied with Rhythm City Chronicles. The breakdancing was great, but the story they were telling was really lacking, and it didn't have an ending. It just kind of stopped, and it bugged me. It really bugged me because it kind of took the flow out of the event. So, you know, instead it's it just left me wanting. So this year it had like a full storyline that went on, and there was an actual ending. So that was cool to see, and the dances were really cool. A few snafus because you know they get so much practice, but you know there's only so many professional dancers that you can actually get lucky enough to have on cast. But what I loved about it was there was different stuff. Like there was some, you know, like there's some more there's breakdancing, you know, there's like some more formal style dances. There was a stomp style dance where they were, you know, they were actually performing with percussion. And that was cool. It was really cool that there were other types of dance in there. You know, just to show off a different range of performance. So it's not just skit, breakdance, skit, breakdance, skit, breakdance. So I like that. I will admit there were some technical snafus with that, which happens. You know, when you wire up that many people and you have that many things running at once, you know, unless you've got $100,000 to drop on a setup, things might go wrong. So I'm very lenient when it comes to that. The performances were spot on. I was like, really cool job. So yeah, I was happy with Rhythm City. See, we get to a new event this year, which was they did a Rick and Morty event in the main events hall, and this one was put on by, I believe, Shinobi Studios, which is kind of like a ninja training parkour thing that's in Tampa. If I'm getting the studio name wrong, I deeply apologize. So they were kind of involved in the superhero stunt show a few years back, so I had faith in the name alone. So you know, I go there. I don't follow Rick and Morty. I don't watch much like actual TV anymore. So a lot of these shows people are on, you know, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Rick and Morty. I haven't seen any of them. So okay, whatever. Let's go because I know, like, you know, these guys are gonna put on a show. And there's moments in there that were really cool, but I couldn't help but feel like, I don't know, something about it wasn't coming together. Like, maybe it's just out of place because Metrocon is like video game and anime centric, and now here's this Adult Swim cartoon, and it's bopping around a whole bunch of different universes, and like we're getting some cool fight scenes, but I wasn't getting as much of the parkour element out of it as I wanted, and some of it just seemed like it went on like really long, like really drawn out, and like it felt like the pacing was off. You know, it felt like things just kind of stretched out when they didn't have to. It's my opinion. It's just my opinion of the show, and I don't say things to bash on because I know these things take a ton of work, a ton of practice. I'm not trying to say anything bad, but you know, Metrocon in the past, like I've always been told that you know, I'm trying to produce like constructive criticism that can help improve the convention in the future. I'm not trying to bash on anybody. I'm not hating on anybody. I know, you know, I have respect for that because like I don't care if the show absolutely sucked. You're doing something I could never pull off. I could not coordinate a stunt show. I could not pull off what these guys were pulling off. But you know, with the Shinobi School title on there, I was hoping for something that did lead to a little bit more of that parkouring, you know, spectacle that I was kind of expecting. Because the first time I heard of them was when they helped out with a superhero stunt show, and they, you know, the Spider-Man they had was incredible, like super cool, seeing him bouncing around across all the different obstacles and such. So I don't know. I felt like what I went there for was missing. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe if I was a Rick and Morty fan, I would have been way more into what was going on. Maybe that was true, but I don't know. Maybe it was. I'm not sure what it was. It was just like that. I don't know. It didn't hit the mark for me. I'm hoping it did. I'm hoping it did well, and I hope when they try again. I want to see what they do to go bigger. Maybe a little bit better integrated into what the con is, you know, or maybe just like or a theme that lends itself better to, you know, like the parkour aspect that I kind of thought I was going to get out of it. I don't know, but you know, still, you'll see the highlights. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'll show you guys the highlights, and like the Rick and Morty fans go, no, that's absolutely great. Like, what are you talking about? Next up, Metro Night Live. This is the midnight show that I'm lucky if I have the energy for. So I tried very hard to conserve energy on Saturday, which is the busy day, so it's not an easy one to do, so I can make it to there. And I'm happy I did, because there's a lot of really funny stuff in that show. And again, I've got friends in the performance cast. I will admit, when it comes to Metrocon, performers are my lacking point. I don't get to know as many of the performers as I would like to. Especially because there's a bunch that recognize me because I do all the videos every year, or they see this video. But I never get the chance to just talk to them because they're some of the busiest people there. Because, you know, when they're not rehearsing and re-rehearsing all of their stunts and performances and fight scenes, they're browsing the halls and they're like hyping everybody up, you know, like they're pushing the chess match. So, you know, or you know, the chess match or Rhythm City or like the Star Party or whatever it is show they're in. So there's some of the busiest people at Metrocon. They put themselves out there to benefit those events. So, yeah, so I always feel bad that I don't know as many. You know, I don't know more of them. So I got to go to the second showing, which thankfully didn't have as many tech problems as the first. Specifically, 2 of the sketches required the video monitors, which were not available on the first showing, so I got the second, so those sketches went on. And what Metro Night Live is it takes sketches from comedy shows, mostly, you know, as you can tell by the name, Saturday Night Live, and reinvents them with video game and anime characters in order to change up the situations and, you know, create a little bit of different humor. And sometimes this works really well. They did a Pokemon version of SNL's Sweaty Balls sketch, which is one of the most famous sketches of like modern SNL, which is getting pretty old now. Like, it's hard to even call a modern SNL sketch. But they did that this year, and because it's Pokemon, they were able to kind of expand on the premise and make jokes that were going to work in that universe that the original sketch could not. So they took that as like a base and built off of it. And I think those sketches work really, really well. There was another sketch, I believe is another SNL sketch, where it's kids getting driven to school, and they'd switch up the parent that was driving them, and you get oohs from the crowd because every time they change positions, it's the kid in the front seat whose parent is going to step in to do the driving. And sometimes, and it's a whole car full of anime characters who famously have parent issues. One of them came up, which was Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, who infamously has issues with his dad, who's either dead or off-world training or some nonsense like that, and is never around for his family. So, during that sketch, I was half expecting Piccolo to come in and start driving, not only because one of the famous filler episodes in Dragon Ball is an episode where Piccolo has to learn how to drive, but also because that's kind of the joke on the internet right now, is that Piccolo is a far better dad to Gohan than Goku is. And like, I was kind of expecting them to run with that and just like go like full bore into that, like who's Goku? You know, Piccolo's my dad. Like, I was kind of expecting to go that direction, but no. But still, those are the kind of sketches I thought were really, really funny. The ones that used video was a take on the Chappelle Show sketches, with the Charlie Murphy, the true Charlie Murphy stories, where the first one was about James Brown, and then the other one Prince. You know, but this was set to Final Fantasy VII. So it's Cloud telling these stories in Charlie Murphy's part, and they are about, instead of it's Rick James, I'm sorry. James Brown. So instead of Rick James, it was Zach, and instead of Prince, it was Sephiroth. Of course it was. And it's still funny just seeing these characters in that weird position, but I find that jokes where, isn't it funny that this character is in this position and doing this, starts to wear thin after a little while. So they were funny, but it wasn't like lasting funny because it wasn't building anything new. It was just swapping characters. You know, so I thought it could have been funnier. Like sketches like that, like I feel need to expand what they do based on the material they draw from. That way, you're not just retelling the jokes that people already know, you're telling new things. You know, like, you know, the Pokemon sketch got the biggest laughs in the audience by far, because not only are they very, very familiar with the original, it's going in a completely different direction now. So you're getting new content, you're creating something of your own rather than simply borrowing. So like, I think that's like the direction of the sketches that works a lot better. But I laughed, but that's not to slam that sketch, because I still laughed. Like, it was still funny, and all the sketches were funny. Like, I don't think there was anything that just, like, fell flat on me in that performance. So I'm happy with that one. You guys did a great job, especially considering that went on to, like, 1:30 in the morning, and you guys could still remember your lines, which I probably would not be able to. So, good job there. Beyond that, superhero stunt show. This is one I kind of took a little bit of issue with last year because this was just added to Metrocon's regular lineup a couple years ago. And the first time out, it was the Avengers versus Red Skull and Hydra Grunts, and it worked. It was a really funny show, and everyone performed really, really well in it. Like I said, the Spider-Man they had that year was fantastic. They had someone backstage doing the voice, and they were spot on. They sounded like I would expect Spider-Man to sound. And Spider-Man was behaving the way I thought Spider-Man would. He's bouncing around, he's flipping, he's jumping off of things, the parkour obstacles, and it worked. It really, really worked, and it was fun to watch. And then the second year came about, and with only an addition of a few extra heroes, and with only the change of they added a few heroes and villains, and it was more based on Civil War than Captain America. It was pretty much the same show, because again, it was Red Skull It was a similar premise. You know, we're going to take over Metrocon, etc., etc. And it, I don't know, like that year, it just like I really, I wish, you know, it's still funny, but I wish you did something different. And this year they did. This year they did something very different, and most of those regulars weren't there. What they did was it was a battle for the last Infinity Stone, the Power Stone, and it was the Suicide Squad going after Logan to get it. The Defenders from Netflix got involved to take it back. The Guardians of the Galaxy got involved. You had Thor and like Thor's roommate from those weird sketches they did to promote the movie, who strangely enough was like a more major character than some of the superheroes. I don't know, a little bit weird. Yeah, but it kept piling. Like, you know, Thanos was the main villain, and there's a bunch of grunts that worked for Thanos, and Spider-Man came back, and Doctor Strange was there, and Batman came back, and there was Wonder Woman as well. It's just like more. It was really busy. Like as soon as like Logan got killed off after like the first fight, but then like Professor X joined the cast, and like there's just a lot going on here. There's a lot of characters going on here, and what ended up being a fairly thin story to tell, because most of it was just going off to someone else's place, universe, whatever, watching them get into a big brawl, and then recruiting them to go after the Suicide Squad. And this, so you have a scene, there's a big brawl, and they leave, and there's a scene, they have a big brawl, and they leave, and this leads to an even bigger brawl with the Suicide Squad and all the grunts for Thanos against all these different superheroes. And there's something exhausting about that. Just like, this is the reason why only one brawl breaks out per chess match, because just, aside from just, it gets exhausting watching so many big fight scenes that you're not really seeing anything spectacular, because everyone's trying to stay out of everyone's way, so everyone's fights are trying to keep it very simple. It's kind of denying some of the characters who could have a really cool fight scene. Spider-Man got a little bit of performance in this one, but not quite as good as his first year. I think Doctor Strange got one of the better ones, and I'll describe that here in a bit. But for the most part, I felt like not a lot of the characters got to stand out, because there were just so many characters going on. And the story was just a little bit too thin for me to follow, because the Power Stone only plays into like the first and last sketches in any way. There were moments of greatness in this, because both Doctor Strange and Thanos had CGI helpers. They were guys in like bright green Zentai suits, full body, that, one was following Doctor Strange around to wave his cape. The others were like pushing Thanos' throne around, because the joke was, he's been in 4 movies, but he doesn't like to stand up. So you had all these little jokes in there, and I thought it was brilliant to have these like CGI guys. Like, they'll be edited out later, doing all this stuff that you're not supposed to notice. That was really funny. The other one was, they did a good little magician's trick, which is appropriate for Doctor Strange, with him on stage after like a big distraction or the lights go out or something, and they've swapped his actual cape, his costume cape, for a performer in like a cape suit who was just standing behind him like that. And the cape flies off, and just like in Doctor Strange, the cape gets to have a fight scene. That's really, really cool. And not only was it a cool fight scene, and not only was it a really clever trick, it was a funny twist at the end. It's a bad joke if you know what the performance was, but I'm rolling with it. So there was moments in here that were really good. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the humor fell flat, and part of that might have been because there were some mic issues on the performance I went to, so I couldn't really hear everybody. But like, even the stuff they were playing between scenes as they were switching around props and in the set, they were playing things on the screens, and sometimes those are really, really funny. There's one with Luke Cage that was really, really funny, and then there was one for Daredevil, or Matt Murdock more specifically. And it was just, I don't know, the guy's blind, so he doesn't know where the camera is, and that's really the only joke. And I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of a little bit off put by, like, let's make fun of the guy because he's blind thing in the second year, and this year is worse. I kind of don't want to see Daredevil back next time. Like, I'm sorry, it's just, there's a little bit of, I don't know, there's a little bit of malice to it at this point. I feel like I don't think it should be there anymore. But like, a lot of those sketches they were playing on the TV, like, they weren't getting reactions from the crowd. Like, there wasn't many people laughing at them. Just like, I don't know. Like, I want to like this show a lot because I feel like this show has so much potential. Not only to get, like, superhero characters out of the chess match so it can stay more to video game and anime, but also because it's such a popular thing right now, and to be able to have a show like that can take advantage of what's going on in, like, the most popular form of cinema right now. That's a really good thing to have, but it needs to have its own merits, and I felt like this year it didn't really make it to that. So, unfortunately, like, I wasn't a fan of it this year. You know, I still think the first performance was the best one they put on. I really, really want to see this one step up its game next time. Less characters, more substance to what's going on, and let the characters stand out. Like, right now, the talk of the superhero cinema world is Wonder Woman, and all she was there for was to run on stage, have one line, and run off. And that's all you had her for. You had the Defenders there, and they're technically not a series yet. You had the awful Suicide Squad there from the movies nobody liked. A few people liked it. I thought it was the most painful thing I'd watched in years. But it's just, like, it just too, like, I feel like the cast needs to be pulled back, the substance needs to be picked up, and just, you know, punchier on the comedy. You know, like, because it's superhero-dom. Like, it lends itself to comedy and ridiculousness. You know, so, I don't know. I'm hoping for just something a little bit stronger next year. I think something else that might benefit the show immensely might be, like, instead of doing these weird sketches of these characters, like Matt Murdock, Attorney at Law commercial, if they were actual scenes that played along with what was going on. Like, to see the characters out in a different environment, you know, not only to make sure you have clean ways of showing them on camera and having no audio issues because you're right there and you can, you know, you're filming separately and all this, but also to make sure, you know, that allows you to tell stronger jokes, to have stronger routines, to have, you know, areas that, you know, like, more immerse you in, like, that's the character type thing. And I think it just lends itself more to like making it feel like a whole show rather than just like these weird commercial breaks. So, like, that's just a thought I'm throwing out there. Like, so again, it's the show I always have the most hope for because I really want it to do well. I really want it to do well, and I'm trying not. Again, like, I'm not trying to bash on it. Like, I want it to be as good as it can possibly be, and I know it can be really good. So, you know, I'm looking forward to next year. I want to see I want to see how they grow from there. And then, of course, you know, the big event, the signature event of Metrocon, the anime human chess match, Faithful versus Fallen, the loyalist of loyal characters in video games and anime versus those who have fallen to darkness. Led by Dracula, because how could you not? Castlevania Dracula, more specifically. My buddy Terry did him this year, I believe, and he did outstanding, as he usually does in the chess match. He's really good at what he does. With the king side had Saber from Fate's Stay Night as your king piece, which I thought was clever because, like, in the anime she's described as the once and future king. So I think that was a really cool way to incorporate both the character, it's an appropriate spot, but also some of her mythology and backstory as well. Of course, this being the signature event of Metrocon, this is the one where they put in months of work to make sure it all gets done the right way, to make sure the performances go off as cleanly as they can, and it was awesome this year. I often talk about like the coolest experience at Metrocon was on my first year, where they had a sword, they had like a sword dojo there, and like the owner was after one of his performances and demonstrations, two of the cast members of the chess match that year wanted to show off their their routine, and they wanted some tips on how to make it better. So they recreated their fight scene from the chess match, and I swear they went like twice as fast as they did during the chess match itself. And I'm like 10 feet from it, so this is like amazing to me. And this is the first time I think we had a fight in the chess match itself where they went just as fast, or it felt like they went just as fast. It was really freaking cool. But the fight scenes were incredible this year. Matt, you had the best death ever. I don't know how many times you practiced that, but it was awesome. Like, I kind of want to add, like, Mortal Kombat blood spurts to that, just to get the entire effect. So, thank you. That was so freaking cool. Yeah, but a lot of really funny stuff happened in this one. I wasn't a fan of the framing thing, because they did this, like, weird, like, flashback thing, where one of the characters was describing it to someone else. So they kept cutting over to two characters off to the side, you know, just to kind of put in the framework of this being told in the form of a flashback. And I'm not as much of a fan of that. I understand why, but I'm not as big of a fan. And this year I didn't get to stare at Kefka when they were doing that, so I wasn't as much of a fan of it. Like, yeah, Kefka can go ramble as much as he wants. I'm cool with that. But no, like, aside from that, like, I was really happy with it this year. They pulled some clever stuff in the storyline. You know, they played their characters really well to make sure, like, to make sense of what was going on, and you know, they had a nice way of taking advantage of the characters they had and properly portraying them. There's some really cool fight scenes thanks to some of the characters' abilities that were really unique and led to really cool moments and really cool finishes. One of the characters on the Fallen side of the board was the villager from Animal Crossing, because it was based on the meme version of the character, who's like the one like breaking through the door with an axe from Psycho, you know, like peering through the door like Jack Nicholson, or taking the place, or like, if you ever seen the other meme I remember is like taking place of Pennywise in like the storm drain, like peeking out. So that was the most hysterical moment. That's like, there's always a little bit of throwback to the sillier chess matches of the past in those, and that was the villager, because the villager was a freaking psychopath that creeped everybody out and had like such a brutal death in his fight scene. They had to cut away. They cut away back to the side characters telling the story, and it was like, no, that's not, we can't describe what just happened. It's not appropriate for this convention to describe what the villager did. It was great. It was great. One of the other favorites from the chess match this year was they had Eddie Riggs. Like, it's the Jack Black heavy metal game. I can never remember the name of the game. But he was played by my new buddy Jeb, who I couldn't find on Facebook. Find me, dude. Like, you were awesome to talk with at the after party. I love this guy. He got to improv all of his lines, and like, he was really funny at the role, and he performed really well in the fight itself. blatant disregard for the fourth wall every now and then. So that was really cool. He was really fun to watch. Danielle, who has no idea who this guy is at all, like, kind of whispers over to me, "Is that Meatloaf?" No, it's Jack. It's Jack Black pretending he's Meatloaf. But again, like, just super cool. God, I want to like flip through like the cast list and just like, who else was really cool, like, which means I'm gonna start leaving off other names and I'm gonna feel like crap. But it's Morocco as never mind. Who's there? I don't know. I'm losing track. I'm losing track because they print different names in here than the names I know them by. I watched. Right. It was Miroku from Inuyasha who got killed by the villager. I watched Miroku get beaten to death with a rubber chicken. That was outstanding. I laughed so hard. Yeah, it was a really solid chess match. Just a really solid chess match this year. Ending was a little abrupt and a little bit confusing, but it's supposed to be. Draw in for next year. We get some continuity going the last few years, so that's interesting. No, super happy with the chess match. Just really good this year. Congratulations, guys. You put on a huge show and nobody died. Awesome. I'm getting short in the breath now, which does remind me. I will roll back to the Rick and Morty show just because I forgot this. I did catch the second show after two of their performers actually came up injured. Not a Metrocon related injury, outside of convention, but they had to redo one scene, which was a like Power Ranger versus Voltron confrontation. The Rick and Morty thing got weird. They went to a lot of different universes all at once. But it was Power Rangers versus Team Voltron in like a dance-off, which was awesome. So they had they lost a couple of their performers for that. So they had to kind of redo a lot of stuff and improv a lot of new material. A lot of really bizarre stuff that certain fan fiction authors will probably take inspiration from. I'm not sure if I can air it on a PG YouTube channel, but I might just put a warning because it's really funny. So I will credit the Rick and Morty show to that. They had to redo a lot of stuff at the last minute, and they still pulled off a good performance for that scene. So, okay, I'll give them that one. But yeah, overall, like, I thought the shows went really well this year. I know a lot of people thought, this year's shows were a lot more solid. They were having a lot more fun at it. That's always good to hear, because when the staff is into it, when the performers are into it, it comes off that much better. So, great job to everybody out there. Like, I know it's just an eternity of practice to make sure those shows come off right, and I think everyone worked as hard as they could to make the shows as good as they could. And that seems to be the theme every year with Metrocon, and they don't let me down. I'm trying to think of like side stuff beyond that happened just before I wrap this up. There was a couple snafus with how things went. They tried wristbands this year instead of badges. No one really liked that, and as the weekend went on, the staff started not to like it either. Someone posted on the Facebook page where like this thing came off after like one showering because it's supposed to be waterproof, and like Alex wore it for 5 days straight and it was fine, but someone attached it weird, like someone stuck it together the wrong way, so it came off on them. It's like, of course, if you don't wear it right, it's going to come off. You can wear it backwards, upside down, and it's probably not going to work that way either. I don't know, so that led to a big kerfuffle. There are really good reasons. Some of them are convention center related why they went to the wristbands, but they're going to try as hard as they can to get badges back next year. Everyone wants them to be badges. So, we need some stinking badges. That's what we need. Beyond that, let's see, what else can I praise or otherwise bring up? The other noise after the con was security. Here's the problem. Every time someone brought it up, they mentioned security, but they don't mention what kind of security, because there's two types of security at Metrocon. There's the Tampa Bay Convention Center's personal security in the blue shirts, and in the red shirts we have the Brute Squad. And the Brute Squad are awesome people. They are personally picked by Nick Fazio, who's the head of security. I know most everybody on that staff, Jonesy, Q, who is awesome every year. I know, and the thing to remember about them is that they are one of us. Jonesy performs at medieval fairs around in Florida, because he's the role player type like that. No matter how scary and intimidating he looks, he's one of us. The biggest guy on the team had a badge that read Wookiee, and he had a Klingon lightsaber tattooed onto his arm, which is an awesome concept itself. So, they are one of us, and they're very good at what they do. They're very cool people. I've never met someone on the Brute Squad who was a jerk, or who abused their authority, or pushed people around, or discriminated in any way. I do know Tampa Bay Convention Center security is far stricter, far less lenient, doesn't really know how Metrocon operates year in, year out. I even had problems with Tampa Convention Center security this year. And usually, I have a very smooth Metrocon. This is the first time, I've actually had a run-in with one of them that were just, really loud and just, really confrontational. And I could easily see how, that could really upset a con-goer's weekend. I'm really sorry for anyone who experienced that. But I would go to bat anytime for anyone on that Brute Squad, because I know all of them are awesome people, and I know the people who choose the people who are on that squad make sure they are the best people they can get for that role. So, okay, if you have problems with security, let someone else on Metrocon staff know, and make sure you differentiate between, it's red versus blue in the convention hall, and everyone on Metrocon should be on the red team. I don't care how much you'll like Caboose. We're on the red team here. So, I don't know. I just as a word of defense, the guys are awesome. Okay, so ease off. Make sure you recognize that the ones you had problems with are most likely the much stricter ones that were kind of jerkish to people anyway. Let's see. Is this? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So if you want the list, that's what I have to do every year. That's my shooting schedule. It's 10 o'clock to 1:30 in the morning sometimes. 10 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. The Whose Line Is It Anyway I didn't get either. I apologize to that. I always mean to make it there, and I never do. Sorry to Pikachu for not making it to the Pokemon Go. They got a Lugia while they're out. I'm super upset because I can't get in on any raids around here. I don't have any legendaries. And I think I want to say that's it. That's everything listed here. Yeah, Shinobi School, not Shinobi Studio. So hey, I corrected myself an hour later. And apologies to the Common Writer panel because it's held by different guys. I'm sorry. It was on my list, but it was against one of my signings, and it was against an interview. I couldn't make it. No, but it was awesome this year. Total footage for the convention this year: 201 gigabytes worth of recording. Total playlist time: 23 hours, 10 minutes, 14 seconds. Whew. So, yeah, but I had an incredible time. It was as awesome and epic as it always is. The staff made me feel like part of the family, as they always do. I always describe Metrocon as whether I'm coming to Metrocon or going or leaving from Metrocon, it always feels like I'm leaving one home to go to another. And this year, working with everyone much more closely, that felt even more true this year. So, again, thank you to everyone who let me be part of the big year, who let me be like a real part of Metrocon, not just someone who runs around with a camera all day and is like, hey, I got in for free. I never want to be that. I never want to be that. I want to work my ass off there because I appreciate what you guys do. I love what you guys do, and everyone I know from the staff is a wonderful person. I can't say enough good things about them. Which is why these videos end up going over an hour every year. Well, it's also a 4-day event. I got a lot to talk about. So, next year's Metrocon comes 3 days after my birthday. It's never on my birthday. But that actually puts it in like a really close time frame to my very first Metrocon, which is actually appropriate because that will be my 10th anniversary of being at Metro. And like to go from like the little weekend pass to this, this was just close enough to make me realize just how much farther I could climb. I feel like I reached the mountaintop just so I could see the real mountain that lied above. And as soon as I turn off this camera, it's time to start climbing again. So now the goal is to be higher up on the guest list. The goal next year is to not be on the last page of the list. So I'm going to have to work my ass off. But it's what Metrocon does to me. Metrocon, every year, I said it on that stage, it's always inspired me to do things I never thought I was capable of. And every year it inspires me to try harder than I did last year. And we're going to use it. We are going to get back to things. A lot of change is going to happen to make sure I can put out as much for you guys as I can. Just to make sure everything, just to make sure you guys know I'm committed to making myself better, to making this channel better, to getting more out to you guys so that next year at Metrocon, you're going to see a different TJOmega. Same idiot goofball with a camcorder, of course, but it's more than anything, Metrocon once again reminds me it is time to like really knuckle up and get down to serious business. Not to defeat the Huns, just to improve myself. So change is coming. The reinvention of TJOmega is coming because this was an eye-opening year. And I hope to open my eyes even wider as I go forward, because now it looks like this might be a regular thing, and I'm so looking forward to doing it again. So thank you once again to everybody at Metrocon who made it possible. Thank you to everyone I dealt with, everyone who made sure that con went off without a hitch, whether you're a security guard who had to, handle a bad situation, or someone in the tech booth who scrambled to make sure a microphone started working again. You guys are so unsung, it's unfair. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to everyone who makes sure that the con goers don't notice things going wrong because you're so damn good at what you do. No one notices you. And I know a lot in the guest liaison staff and the tech staff who fit that label. So thank you to all you guys. You are, as always, amazing. And I'm eagerly ticking down the 11 months until I can go home again. So I'm going to get to work, and I'm going to start getting videos up. There's already one up. The best panel of the weekend is already up on my channel. Even if you don't watch the panels, go watch this one. It's so freaking funny. You have no idea how funny this is. So go watch it. We'll get to the regular Metrocon videos as quickly as I can this year. And until next time, guys, that is it for Metrocon.